We're live.
All right, this is the Senate Education Committee on March 17th. We're continuing our work on the next chapter of Act 73. And today we have with us Legislative Counsel Beth St. James. And recall we had a discussion about draft 4, so 4.1. 4.1 last Thursday. A handful of changes emerged from that. And we're just going to go through what is now 5.1. Then we can talk about, there's a couple changes in the maps based on what the that's involved right now. So we'll talk about that afterwards. So, then we had one person who, a citizen, who happens to be in the room and asked if he can say a few words afterwards. And I said, sure. So I put him on the agenda. So, we have probably a very quick afternoon here, but first let's just go through the changes in our legislative council.
Sure. Beth St. James, Office of Legislative Counsel. So we're going to look at draft 5.1 of your governance modernization bill. Do you want me to share my screen?
It's posted, right? Daphne?
Yes.
So
Okay.
it's posted. No, I don't think you should. We have
Okay.
hard copies.
So the first change I want to point your attention to is at the very top of every page, but we'll just look at page 1. Is there's a little key up there for highlighting. So anything highlighted in green are the areas where you have identified supervisory union or supervisory district membership. And my understanding are those are all TBD. So I want to keep them flagged for you all and for those following along to know that that's still a TBD. And then changes from the last draft will be in yellow. So you're going to see a ton of green, but not a lot of yellow. In fact, the first substantive change occurs actually on page 16. On line 20, transition to new supervisory unions. I've just added the fact that there will be a report to the section heading. And then if you jump to page 18, couple changes here. So just to orient you to where we are in the draft. Section 5, which starts on page 16, line 20, is the transition to new supervisory unions, the transition process for the new supervisory unions that you've created prior to section 5. What are all of the things they need to do in order to become operational? And then in subsection C on page 18, you asked for a report back. And so the first report back, starting on line 1, in subsection C, subdivision 1 on line 4 on page 18, is that you're asking for a report back from the state board with recommendations for adjustments to the supervisory union boundaries of basically what amounts to the gray area. And what you see there is, I should have highlighted in green, but I didn't for no particular reason. Those are all the gray area of supervisory unions and supervisory districts. So you're asking the state board to tell you what are some recommendations for adjusting those supervisory union boundaries. That was all in the last draft. But on line 17 on page 18, previously you asked the state board in their recommendations for new supervisory union boundaries within the gray area for ADM, for average daily membership to be not less than 2,752, I think. It was the ADM of the lowest, the aggregate ADM, lowest aggregate ADM of the supervisory unions on Senator Bongart's map at one point in time.
Yep.
And this has just been changed to a flat 2,500. So the recommendations that you all get back from the state board, there's new supervisory unions within the gray area. The member school districts of those supervisory unions should have an aggregate average daily membership of not less than 2,500 students.
And just, this is me interjecting, but the new map you'll see here actually has those districts in red in the gray areas. You can actually see where they are.
The ones that are less than 25.
See the red. Those are the existing districts.
Oh, okay.
Existing, just so you know. If it happens to relate to a Beth, which is probably that's fine. Through that.
And the proposal regarding supervisory union adjustments can also include a proposal for a supervisory district. If the ADM of that supervisory district is also not less than 2,500 students. Then the other new piece here, that you're asking for a second part of that report back from the school board. And that is recommendations for school district mergers within the new supervisory union boundaries. So should the new supervisory union boundaries look like? And then within those new boundaries, should there be any school district mergers? Make recommendations to you all about that.
So it's all recommendations for the right back to us. And I forgot when it's right, but
December 1st of this year.
Okay.
Then the next.
think about that data. Sounds sort of.
The next change is on page 23. In section 10. Here we're talking about the final state action for mergers of school districts within the non-gray area, within the supervisory union. So the first step is the Secretary of Education makes a recommendation to the state board or publishes a plan for mergers. And then the state board would take action. And what we've done here is added starting on the first instance is on page 23, line 21. That the agency's recommendations they should only recommend merging districts with the same operating structures. And now we've added and districts within the same supervisory union. And so that's the same for the secretary's plan. And then that language appears again on page 25, lines 5 and 6, related to the final order of the state board.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
I was trying to make sure I understand the whole light with light. So with this, is there also any benefit? And does this allow for like full choice towns should all be merged to like non-operating districts will all be merged?
If it makes sense for small operating, non-operating districts to merge.
It does. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because if they don't do it within the time frame, they are likely to get merged.
And it makes sense from a financial perspective, like it.
Oh, I see. Does
Does
make
it, like-
much sense? It probably simplifies things some.
Okay, less for a business manager to have to negotiate or something.
The next change is on page 29. This is the exploration and transition grants reports and appropriation section 12. And all I've done here is this is the requirement that the agency includes recommended appropriation amounts for the different types of transition grants and merger grants in their budget submitted to the governor. And the last draft just left out the supervisory union transition facilitation grant, so I've added that in. The only other big change, you'll see the effective dates are highlighted, and that's only because I removed reference to a section. Because the biggest substantive change you can't see, and that is that the section, I believe it was previously section 15, which added a high school weight, has been removed.
Yeah.
And that's it for changes.
The questions first. We can go on to the map in a minute, but that's a bit of language, so. This is how I get questions, so thank you.
That is, can I ask a non-related question?
LSAT. I understand that the crossover, they didn't get an extra week. So have they sent a product? Is there a product that's on their, agenda for review on the floor that's coming to us?
I don't know whether it's accurate to say that they didn't get a crossover extension. I don't know.
I just heard that as
There's no
only the
bill,
money committee.
there's no bill ready for the floor related to Act 73 right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a real quick one. So what did you say the green represented?
The supervisory union and the supervisory district boundaries that you all are creating in statute, that my understanding are TBD. So rather than have everyone say, are these permanent? Are these the ones you're going with? We're just gonna keep them in green until you guys are happy.
Thank you. Put it another way, instead of having that have to go through
Yeah.
it's lost of voice every time we make a tiny change. Just recognize it's gonna have to happen at some point.
Yep.
Elegant solution.
So St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, I didn't even clock that. I'll stick around and watch your testimony on that.
But you can stick around.
Yep.
So just to show you the map, the new map, one thing it does is within the gray area shows the boundaries of the SBs. So there's two substantive changes, just so you know this. One is following that testimony on Friday from the Siskoy up here. They said they wanted to remain in SD and be able to hook up with an SD next to them. And I think it made sense. So we're trying that one on. Let's make this not if it matters. By the way, every district here is still about a minimum of 27. Every SU in this area with a color is at least 2,700. It's made the number 25 just the same. But and after hearing from enough people in Bennington County, I redivided Bennington County basically along the existing line. They're both still 2,700. In fact, one of them's more than 2,700.
Okay.
It just everything's it's too big. There's two different ones. But so we have a number of people over the week beginning to sign up. School boards that offer testimony. We kind of put this out there as we're finalizing that. Want to hear from you. And so we have people signed up, so we'll get some testimony over the next few days from people across the state about whether they like the boundary, don't like the boundary.
Is there room to have additional people sign up?
Of course. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, as long as they're not in Wyndham County.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and then do it through that. And they're trickling in, so.
And we're all receiving the same emails, I think, so I'd imagine, like I've not necessarily responded because I figured those were being collected. I don't.
Yeah, no, that's a good, a lot of them are, they all copy here.
Yeah, all the ones who's copied.
Well, all the ones-
Right, I just figured like bundling them and maybe they've started to even aggregate and say this is a statement from
Yeah.
this group or something, so.
We do typically post those, I think, right, so that
We post them, yeah, and I just like, if I need to better understand something. Hopefully we're hearing from one of those people from those hotspots.
Yeah.
Unless we've taken care of their issue.
yeah. Okay, so we had, yes,
So your GIS support, can they, per new district, can they provide the number of schools, which probably is close equivalent to the number of principals for each of those districts?
I know.
So that, because again, I'm not advocating that we deal so much with the number of students, rather the number of principals that each superintendent would be responsible for. That's a completely different message to the number of students. And I'm wondering if that data point can at least be provided.
so what got partway there, and we've done a breakdown, and I think we have it, a breakdown of districts within each SU. So we know how many district boards a superintendent will be dealing with, as I get to all the way to what you're talking about. But it's the partial step. The next thing is your question. I'll see about that.
So can I ask a follow-up? Are we more, so with each new proposed district, there would be a school board
Well,
associated,
remember, these are supervisory units, not districts.
right?
So
Okay, so we rephrase it. Would each of these new SUs have a new school board? They have a board, whatever name you want to call it.
yeah, an SU board.
Okay, so why, if the school board is a representation of the SU, why does it matter how many districts the superintendent was dealing with when the superintendent really has one board? His or her board, not all of the districts, the current districts within that.
Well, remember that the superintendent does deal with the district boards.
I know they do now.
They go to so they go to those meetings electronically or not, however they do it. And so the superintendent deals with the supervisory board, but also deals with the boards within the SU.
Good. And we're not trying to change that paradigm.
That's not what I've been working on. This been looking to shrink the number of districts. So that, for instance, the superintendent will have theoretically half the number of districts to deal with.
But more school boards.
No, fewer, because if we merge districts, if we're able to go from 119 district to 60, there's fewer boards.
Take Rutland, for example. Would be one superintendent. There's a number of existing boards right now. Those boards could consolidate, but it would still be one superintendent with a larger geographic footprint, which would be a larger number of existing districts.
Well, it would be fewer districts, hopefully, because if there's fear, now it's not going to play out evenly across the state. But if, for the sake of discussion, it did play out evenly, and there were 10 schools in an SU now, and theoretically, and we're trying to get to half the number, you'd go from 10 districts to 5. So the superintendent would have half the board meetings to go to, but the superintendent would go otherwise.
And that,
Now, it's not going to play out that way, but
and as Senator Weeks was saying, right now, the superintendent goes to every school board. Should we change to that wording that each one of them is going to send somebody up into the SU board?
that's what they do. They do that now.
Then why does the SU superintendent have to go with each?
Districts are. So the SU is actually not a governing body. It provides services. And so each school, depending on how it gets set up, districts send it will rep up to that. But the real work with the superintendent is done with the individual district boards, because they run the operations, they do their budgets,
Yeah.
So it's that's the system we have with SUs, but so what we're trying to accomplish here is have fewer SUs and cut the number of districts in half, which it's a step. Does not purport to solve every issue. Purports to get a step and hopefully a step that Vermont is ready for, especially if it can happen organically.
To streamline, create efficiencies. Efficiency should create savings.
And I think the key to this is that it's the 2-year sport to happen organically.
Have we decided what is going to happen when it doesn't happen? What do you think?
Yeah, there's some language in here. If we get to the point, just again, I'm making this up, but
Yeah, that's fine.
if within these colored areas, I think the magic number would be to get to about 48 within that colored number. If we went down by half, so say we got to 40, the board had to merge 4 to get to the 48. I'm sorry, 16 to get down to 48. There's some criteria in here. We can take a look at it about the things the board considers when making a decision about which districts get merged. And basically, it's going to be to try to merge smaller districts into larger districts.
And if we put that out there for the districts to see, we're hoping organically they do this.
We'd rather make those decisions on our own.
We want them to.
Yeah.
But if you don't,
So, we have, anything else right now? Just, okay, we have, somebody who walked in the room, as, people's house, asked to testify. We had time, so the answer is yes.
Perfect. It's still okay if I sit right
Yes,
up here.
Mandatory.
So, thank you. Thank you. Perfect.
So introduce yourself for the record, what town you're from.
So my name is Nathan Pickard. I am from Waterville, Vermont. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you. I'm hoping today, so what my purpose is of being here today is to maybe fill in some of the gaps of what I don't think y'all are hearing, right? So really kind of the impacts of things. So I had to type this out because it's some information. So you're going to see me reading off script too. Well, with this, but I'll also add in as I too.
It's a good sort of background before you start.
Yeah, so that's gonna share right here,
Okay,
right
all
off
right,
the bat.
okay.
Just to opening statement.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, that was my 7th grade debates course that I took.
Oh.
All right, so my name is Nathan Pickard. I'm your boots on the ground reporting to you today on the smoke and mirrors that are not being shared with legislators. I come to you as a career first responder who has risen to the rank of chief, as an emergency management director who recently created Vermont State University's emergency operations plan, as someone who has directly responded to major incidents, as well as a former ongoing worker with the Department for Children and Families. I have stood in living rooms with families on the edge, in classrooms where kids arrive hungry and overwhelmed, and in command posts where we try to make broken systems talk to each other during a crisis. From that vantage point, I can tell you the way we are restructuring education under Act 73 does not yet match the reality Vermonters are living every day. Right now, we are paying a premium for fragmentation. Every district runs different technology platforms, different data systems, different contracts, and different pathways into Vermont State Universities, community colleges of Vermont, and workforce training. That is not just inefficient, it confuses families and students and wastes money we desperately need for direct services. When you hear promises of savings from consolidating districts and eliminating local boards, understand that the real savings in consolidating systems and aligning our pipeline, not in hollowing out our local schools. On the ground, schools have become food pantries, crisis centers, and mental health triage. Teachers are making sure kids have breakfast, winter clothes, and someone to talk before they can even begin a lesson. Children are carrying the weight of housing instability, addiction in their families, and a financial climate that leaves parents choosing between heat, rent, and food. We talk about test scores and accountability, but we are asking traumatized kids to learn in a constant state of crisis. This is not a failure of our educators. It's a failure of the system we have built around them. We also need to ask that almost no one is asking out loud. Why are so many of our children on IEPs? And why does that percentage vary so dramatically from one part of the state to another? If disability were the only explanation, the number would not swing so widely by geography. Those differences tell us that trauma, poverty, and inconsistent expectations and fragmented systems are driving some of these identifications. In some communities, an IEP has become the only way to access support. In others, kids with similar needs are left to struggle without any plan at all. This is not equity, that is patchwork. We have spent years talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, as if a training or a slogan could fix this. What we need now is unity, equity, and inclusion. Unity means aligning our systems from kindergarten through 12th grade, through Vermont State University and CCV, and into the workforce and re-entry. Equity means sure every child's basic needs, foods, water, safety, and mental health support are met, so they are actually ready to learn. And that support, like IEPs, are used consistently and fairly across the state. not as a substitute for a coherent system. Inclusion means that Vermonters who have been incarcerated are not written off, but intentionally brought back into our communities and our workforce with real educational pathways. We already have proof that alignment works. Vermont State University has begun to turn the corner by aligning its programs with real workforce need and clarifying pathways from CCV. We see similar promise in corrections, education, and reentry programs that give people a chance to earn credentials and step into work instead of cycling back into the system. But the successes are happening in spite of fragmentation in K through 12, not because of coherent statewide design. When I talk about regionalization, I'm not talking about erasing local identity. I am talking about aligning and sharing the work that can be done once, well across a region. We should be regionalizing IT, business offices, transportation, and specialized services while preserving real local voice over school climate, trauma response, and community partnership. In emergency management, including my work creating Vermont State University's emergency operations plan and responding to major incidents, I have seen what happens when systems are aligned and when they are not. When they line up, we can turn a crisis into a turning point. When they don't, families fall through the cracks and the costs, human and financial, are much higher. So my message to you is simple. Do not be distracted by the smoke and mirrors of quick fixes and paper savings. If Act 73 is going to transform education, then use its regionalized and align our systems from K-12 through higher education and reentry, while protecting and empowering the local relationships that kids and families rely on. Invest the savings from system consolidation back into basic needs supports and mental health services in schools. Build clear guaranteed pathways in BTSU, CCV, apprenticeships, and reentry programs in every region. And insist on transparent statewide look at why our IEP numbers are so high, why they vary so much by district, and how much we can reduce preventable disability by addressing trauma, poverty, and system failure upstream. Lastly, I have to ask the hard question. Why is our current administration not putting the solutions on the table for you? Why are we not hearing about regionalizing systems, aligning K-12 with a Vermont State University, CCV, and correction educations, confronting the disparities in IEP identification, and reinvesting savings in the basic needs supports in schools, instead of just hearing proposals to shut down or hollow out our local schools? Vermonters deserve more than a choice between higher taxes and fewer schools. We deserve a plan that is honest about the problems, specific about the solutions, and serious about unifying our education system from early childhood through reentry. Vermonters are not afraid of change. What we fear is being asked to sacrifice our communities for someone else's spreadsheet. I am asking you, as someone who has spent his career on the front lines, to look past the talking points, see what is really happening in our school and homes, and use this moment to build a unified, equitable, and inclusive system that actually works for the people you serve. So my recommendations, as well as that, is one of the things that just came out that y'all were looking at, right, is 21% savings, right? If we can just look at kind of consolidating in some of these platforms alone, right? Now, not just with the platforms, right? But if we look at safety, so we put the overall safety, like you go to school districts, not a single school district has a matching emergency operations plan, right? If an incident happens at school, nobody knows what to do. They have emergency action plans, right? So why is Vermont Emergency Management not taking the burden in that cost? You already have people doing the job, right? So there's so much fragmentation and so many silos from the state, right? So the Agency of Human Services, Vermont Emergency Management, could be saving you millions of dollars a year just working through those two agencies to provide certain services, right? So what I do like is the fact that if we can regionalize these schools, and even if some schools are gonna have to go, that's just the way it is, you know. But keep in mind though, too, these kids are getting put on the bus in kindergarten at 6 a.m. in the morning. Okay, so they're not functioning, right? These kids are not functioning at all. So, and then now some of them are gonna have to take bus rides that are an hour long, right? So you figure a kindergartner, you know, is on a bus at 6 a.m. that has to ride in, right? They're not going to learn. right? So do I think some of the consolidation has to happen? Absolutely. You know, do I think systemic root policy is the key word that we need to be looking at instead of just policy? Absolutely. Right. But y'all sitting here aren't going to know that information unless it's brought to you, right? So everybody's talking in silos, everybody's doing their own thing, and it's costing you 3 times the amount. So I think this proposal, if you looked at the numbers and calculated, would actually save you a total of 40%. So that's my justification for this, right? But it's also keeping a little bit of local control, which keeps the voters happy.
So let's clearly put a lot of thought into this. Appreciate really know that. So it's when you say this proposal, do you really mean, you mean like having 4 regions or something like that?
So I have presented before some legislative work that I've sent up through. I don't know if y'all have received it. I know I handed it off stuff to a couple legislators that actually did the legislative work for you and the language as well. So it's pretty significant. So I don't know, if not, I'm more welcome to try to email this legislative stuff though too for I guess it's wording. But it's just, I'm just trying to do my part and help out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I get you're really, would it also be fair to say you're really talking about the same thing that at least in part, that the task force talked about, of larger regions doing some of the services across a bigger umbrella.
Right. So
Yeah.
take human resources. How many human resources do you need for a supervisory meeting?
Yeah.
Right. Or can you not take that and narrow that down, right? And have a human resource that runs 6 of your districts.
Yeah.
I mean, the state of Vermont has a human resource that can run the whole state. So I think it's investing in some of the better technology, right? And you're seeing that because it's costing you $1 million a year on multiple lawsuits against the Department for Children and Families because your systems are outdated, right? I'm a part of that lawsuit that's fixing to come down on the state of Vermont for that, right? Like you retaliate against me,
Sorry,
you know, like
which
those are those
lawsuit?
things. So the one that just happened for like the foster families, right? Like they changed the whole foster care, right? Well, I'm the person that Eric Araki tried to have arrested as a DCF worker because we didn't have placement for kids. So here was the option. Let's get one of our employees arrested so the hospital won't kick a kid out, right? It was me that fixed that for the state, right? So the retaliation that's come down, which you have though too for your state leaders is tremendous, right? And so that's your budget problems, right? Too. So if you're paying out millions of dollars a year in lawsuits because of bad policy and you haven't updated your systems, you might as well invest, right? But the thing is though too, is K-12 needs to align, right? So we have 1,800 inmates, 80% of them don't even have a high school diploma. So what I like is you had that guy who's trying to give away a college campus right now in Vermont, right? We'll give it away. Well, why are we not aligning K through 12 all the way into secondary education with the Department of Corrections? So if I was the state of Vermont, I'd be begging that guy for that campus. I'd be setting that up for prisoner reform and actually educating our prisoners through that system because you know it's only going to cost you $1 million a year for the property. The savings is hundreds of millions of dollars for something that you already have. Significant.
So I saw a question here.
No,
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Do you know
Thank for
how to-
your time.
Email our committee
I do.
directly?
Yes.
Okay.
I got it. Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So just one more minute on this, just for people to make sure people really have in their head the stuff trying to accomplish here. So we have this, the colored SUs. The idea is within those, that totality, to reduce the number of districts by 50. These are bigger than they are now,
Mhm.
and to reduce the number of districts by half. And then here, where you can see in the gray area, some of these SDs are actually, now, geography doesn't tell the story, because some of them are actually have a lot of kids in a very small area.
Yeah.
So, but some of them don't have a lot. So the idea is here that here they all have 2 years to do their own mergers, or then in the 3rd year, the board would do it to get to the half. Here, the board will make a recommendation to the legislature about how to reduce this number by half as well.
So what if, like, you see
So they're used differently
You
because
see- Addison, Middlebury, and Virginia's that they have already tried to combine, they did the life work years ago. So they'll be able to do that now if when we go to townspeople and say, look, you didn't want it years ago, but now it's kind of, we have to, or 3 years from now, it's gonna.
Yeah, and the other thing is, for what it's worth, just to have the discussion, we're just having a discussion here, but, in the past, some of the difficulty of mergers was around the fact that there were rich districts and poor districts. Foundation formula, you don't have that anymore.
Correct.
And so that changes this. That makes it, in my mind, more likely that we can more easily get mergers
So
to happen.
doing that, what do we, what about Stoves and the Manchesters of the world that their district decides, hey, because we had that percentage, that the voters say, you know what, we want to vote on a new gym. Are they still gonna be able to do that, or are we gonna hold them that it's like, no, you're on the foundation formula and
Yeah, so there's parts of this that I'm like, I'll also say that I'm not trying to solve all the things that
One
you
thing at a
solve
time.
here. I'm trying to solve this part. Foundation formula does what it does, the way we passed it last year. But it basically is, you get what you get per weighted student. And you have to,
that keeps it even.
and then, we are gonna have to deal with civil construction. That's not in here. Oh, you actually can come. We didn't know that. Okay. So,
That gentleman had a phone.
Are we coming
so,
in?
yeah, come on in, come on in. So, that'll be a quick annotation here. Okay. So,
Hello.
okay,
How are
so
you?
we're doing, okay. Everybody, I had a request from the general contractor, right?
No, the building supply.
Oh, good, building supply companies to come and offer a little testimony, just like background testimony about CTEs. And they weren't sure if they could come it up, but apparently they can. And so if we have the time, and if you wanna, I think you want to talk about this, what you're doing to help CTE happen.
Yes, sir. And we have Jeremy Baker from RSK Miles is here. I can tell you what we've been working on over the last several years.
Sure.
And this is who we are. We're handing out to you, and there's also an event in
Oh, I'm
April,
gonna do it backwards.
which works with the
Backwards.
I don't want to steal too much of Claudia's thunder over there, but about 225 kids statewide from the construction trades program CTEs will be in Randolph on April 2nd. And you're all invited to come down and meet them and see what they're learning and how they they'll tell you what they want.
You realize it. Close to that.
So they're gonna ask you.
If we don't ask, you don't come.
Yeah.
So we're asking.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
People say no to be allowed.
So we get-
I'm okay with that.
It's frustrating for us because there's things all the time we'd love to go to, but
Yeah.
it's just, we just can't get out of the building.
Well, it only took us 4 years to get the government here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you're telling me there's a chance?
So how much time?
Right now.
Yeah.
Oh, 15.
15 minutes, okay. So how do you want to do this? Who's gonna
Jeremy.
I think I'll start off by,
have a seat?
sorry.
Name, town of residence.
Sure.
Connected.
Yeah, Jeremy Baker, lifelong Vermonter. I currently work for RK Miles. I'm the ex officio of the VRLDA. I'm the chairman of our legislative committee. I'm also on the executive committee for the NRLA, the president of the LDMDA. All these acronyms means absolutely nothing to you, and other things as well. Ultimately, what we are asking for is a clear path and opportunity for every student that has an interest in learning in the building trades or CTE world. Give them that avenue and make sure that we aren't leaving some behind. However that means. We have seen some examples where some students were not given an opportunity because of too many kids attending one CTE program and another had room. It was a Middlebury Rutland thing. I'm sure you've all heard about it. I understand that there was a way around that, but the kids and the parents really didn't know who to go to advocate for them. So it's almost like a leave no student behind type of thing. especially if you have a kid that is actually interested in learning and then developing a trade while they're learning.
I'm smiling only because we've had today, first reading, our second reading on the floor, passed out S313.
Yes.
Which is a bill that does what, sets up, at least it's an intent.
Right.
With
The
your
intent.
problem.
We understand the
So you're
intent.
lined up with. what-
Yes.
Yeah.
But now you have to go from intent to action.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in any disrespectful manner, but that's where we have to go.
Turns out you're right.
The longer we wait, I don't want to say the bigger the problem gets, but there's potential for it to get bigger. We're all familiar with how many students there are in this state, not many. There's 17%, I think, of our population that is under the age of 17. We're an aging society. Property taxes, we keep going to that well. I don't think that's the way to go. I think it's a short-term fix to a long-term problem. I'm trying to talk as fast as I can because we only have 15 minutes, but I'd rather listen to Claudia. Where's Claudia?
Okay, you're up.
So,
You're up. You're up.
I just, it's frustrating to know that there have been kids interested that have not had the opportunity.
Yeah.
And as we move forward as a state, redistrictization, all of those challenges that you're facing with the educational system, I want to make sure that there's always a thought about where the CTE program and the kids that are that want to attend them, they don't get left out. When I grew up, sadly, that was we don't know what to do with those kids. I'm 54, so that'll give you some context. What do we do with these kids? They don't fit in. They don't want to learn. So you put them in automotive tech or whatever the program is. And they were kind of looked at as second-class citizens, to be perfectly honest with you. And now we have kids that are actually interested in it. And I'm sure all of you are homeowners here in the state. Have any of you hired an electrician, a plumber, or heating and ventilating? How much are they charging?
Too much.
No, they're not. They're charging what they're worth.
Mhm.
Fine.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the cul-de-sac, they can now afford one of those homes.
Economic development. We should-
My answer might have been, I care less about what it costs, it's just that I can get one.
Exactly, exactly.
Where's Bill? Bill had the same sentiment earlier. He said he knows builders and the only favor that they can give him is I might be able to fit you into my schedule.
There's still up.
So, and we have a shortage. We have a shortage of houses. We've identified that. We have a problem with the workforce development. We've identified that. And this addresses more than one issue. So we want to educate our kids here, and we don't want to export them to another state. And that's what's been happening for forever. Everybody talks about maple syrup being one of our biggest exports. Our kids are our biggest export, whether we want to admit it or not.
Cincinnati's.
Both of my kids are. And if I had it all to do over again, I probably would have encouraged them to find a different route rather than to be saddled with $200,000 to $300,000 of debt when they graduate and trying to find a job for $50,000 a year. That's going to take them forever to pay off the debt. So that's all I have, unless you have questions.
No, I'll say there was a question here, but Senator Ron Hinsdale has been with this committee is on your page. I think it's fair to say about the whole committee. And I think we've really all bought in the CTE and the need to make sure that it's available for every kid.
Yeah.
And at your point about the fact that CTE now is very different than what it was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Remember the whole concept and which kids are involved and the whole, it's it's actually really exciting.
It is.
So we appreciate you sharing that because.
And we want to be here. If there's anything that we as an organization can do
Yeah.
to help, not just the people in this room, but the people in the building, the people in the state, we want to be there. We want to be a conduit to success.
Yeah.
Everybody in this room is a competitor, direct competitors with each other. There's only a certain amount of customers that we can have, that we have access to in the state. So we put aside all of those differences because we believe in the kids.
Yeah.
That's what we've focused on over the past 5 to 6 years. And a lot of these kids are not going to show up at our businesses to work for us, but they're going to work in the trades so that they can be customers of ours and they can help the state get to a point where it's not just a look but don't touch state, not built just on tourism.
Thank you. You had a question?
Actually, a comment. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's another side of the coin that, talking about kids that, what do we do with them? Well, I was a college bound student. Decided when I was a sophomore, I didn't want to go to college. Yet I couldn't get my guidance counselor to let me get out of it to go to the trade school
Sure.
that I had involved. So I went through, struggled through the last 2 years of my high school. I ended up going to a New Hampshire technical college to learn automotive technology, which is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, we got to look at not just CTE centers. We need to look at maybe higher education for the trades. too.
Absolutely. I don't
Yeah.
think I don't think any of us are saying just get them through CTE and put them in the workforce. If they want to continue their education, I want to be a part of that as well.
But we need to teach more than just the hands-on,
Mhm.
the welding and the
Yeah.
twisting and wrench. We gotta,
Blueprint
Understand
reading,
the-
all types of
correct. We
things.
gotta understand we gotta train, future leaders in CTE.
Yes. Couldn't agree more.
Well, next,
Do you mind?
No.
Just,
One second.
you have to come up and introduce
oh,
yourself.
I do. Yeah. I was feeling pretty good back there. You know, from Middlebury. I acquired Goodwill Lumber, July 24 with my business partner, James. We were looking for a business in the state to run something that was hands-on, tangible in the community. I think one of the things I want to emphasize is not just CTE because we need tradespeople and, that's a lucrative opportunity. It's a pathway to entrepreneurship. So like there's this whole language in the MBA sphere that I've come out of, that's search funds, right? You look for these businesses that have either succession planning issues or no one to pass it down to. They're Goodrow's third generation. They didn't have kids to pass it along to. You're about to face this, I believe it's like the biggest transfer of wealth between generations in the next 20 to 30 years between baby boomers and their next generations to come. And so it's CTE or trades as a pathway to becoming an entrepreneur in your community at the end of the day, right? How many people have we seen, even in Middlebury, in the short time I've been there, Taylor Rentals goes away, or the local fuel company got acquired by someone in New York and what have you. And it's like the way we keep those things local is by teaching people not just the skills, but also the soft skills to say, hey, you don't have to go to Silicon Valley, New York, where have you to be an entrepreneur? Like you can be an entrepreneur right here. There are people that are trying to sell their business every day in Vermont. So I think that's like a really critical point. Is this the hazing? Is it done?
Yeah.
Figure something out that
One question before you go.
Yes.
Where do you originate from? So you bought Goodrow's. I remember seeing the transition. I used to buy a few Goodrow's and
Oh, yeah.
And
thank you.
and when you and your partner came and bought in, I read the story, but I forget it now. So could you tell us a little bit?
So James and I, we met at business school at MIT originally. We both dropped out after a year. And we started two companies after that. They were both in biotech. They were both startup capital type. Well, one was a nonprofit doing fecal transplants. We can talk about that another day.
Yeah.
And then the other was a biotech that we took public, trying to create therapies for C. diff infection and IBD for patients. So it was incredibly rewarding. But on the flip side, you're basically chasing capital constantly to try to hit the next milestone, promising 10 more milestones ahead while we're trying to still hit that first one. And then clinical trials, R&D, that's really, really difficult, right? You're 7 to 10 years, multi-million dollars just to see positive or negative result. And we really in both companies, first we grew to 80, 90 people. The second we grew to about 200 people. And we really loved it when the business was 15 to 35 people. You could get everyone in a room like this. I was just having this conversation with a few others here. And so when we came and we're looking for a business in Vermont, we didn't care about the industry. It had to be in Vermont, and then it had to have a stable cash flow and something that could plug into the community. And that's really why I'm here.
Yes, another question.
Why, I'm curious, why did it have to be in Vermont? What made you pick specifically Vermont and nowhere else?
It's a pretty awesome state. Realistically, like, James had moved up here during the pandemic as part of that kind of influx of people. And he stuck around, and we were living in Cambridge. As we were thinking about having a family, we have 2 kids now. I was like, okay, it's either going to be moving down to Brookline, or we'd love to find the path to Vermont. So we said, let's set a timetable, look for business in Vermont. If we find one, then we'll make the move. If not, we won't. And I mean, we probably diligenced a dozen companies over a year, including Goodrow.
I heard the same story about Cummings Electric and some Harvard
Okay.
Business School students. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have dinner with the new owner of Cummings Electric, who's a young
Yeah.
recent Harvard Business grad. So I'm so interested in this phenomenon. We are a great state.
We are, it's an awesome state. And also, like,
Awesome. We are an
it's,
awesome
it's
state.
incredible. Yeah. And we wanted that small town kind of community feel, really someone where, knowing our customers, being able to contribute. We didn't want to be the latest millennials to come up here and work remote jobs. So
We're glad you're here.
thank you. I'm glad to be here.
This is like the commercial.
Yes.
Well, and just this thing about
Mhm.
like private equity is making huge plays, right? I don't know if you hear the headlines, say what you will about private equity, but they're not just rolling up homes, but they're rolling up plumbing businesses, they're rolling up HVAC businesses, they're rolling up all these trades businesses. But why? Why leave it to Wall Street? Like, we have this opportunity to train people here to take over businesses right here in this state. And it'd be a shame, I think, to see too much of, I don't want to make this an insider outsiders, but when you have the opportunity and the interest of students here, I would love for them to have the first crack at it. I think this is a really big pathway.
I just did that in one of my businesses, sold
Yeah.
it to one of my employees.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
So I was ready to be done.
Yeah, and that's big ethos. We've heard a lot of some of the companies we diligenced, we just missed it. They said, "Oh, we just switched to ESOP," and and that's great. That, I think, is part of the ethos and what business owners should look like. Thank you. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
More to come.
Do we have time?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Get someone else.
Thank you. And he's new. I know it's the former owner. Claudia Holman, I am employed by Bethel Mills. We are the oldest continuously running lumberyard in the country. And we've been in business for over 240 years, established in 1781. I am also the president of the Vermont Retail Lumber Dealers Association. More importantly, I am the head of the education wing, education and workforce development. I would like to speak a minute to what Andrew has just said. He is new to our organization. Tim Combs before him, who I'm sure many of you know, is a proponent and a graduate of the trade schools. The opportunity that these people are bringing to us here in Vermont is going to change the landscape, right? And so we need, for me personally, and for the board, to reach kids where they are at as early an age as possible, to allow them the opportunity to explore what's out there for them. And that actually is what Bright Futures is about. Now, Bright Futures is geared, it's a program, we bring about 225 children from across the state to the Randolph campus of Vermont State College system. And what we do is we have some of the biggest companies, building manufacturers, automotive, we bring our trucks, we bring our CAD designers, and we have the Department of Labor comes, school is there. So to your point, we have different venues. This year we've teamed up now with Vermont Construction Academy. They offer apprenticeships. So right out of high school, you can go for an apprenticeship. So we have a presentation on that. We send the kids out in small groups, about 15, and we pair them with mentors. And the mentors are there because their side, they want to reach these kids. They want to talk to these kids. They want to let them know that we're there for them. We're not just there in the sense of being there for the day. We're there if you have a question later on. And so we send them through these different presentations. They're about 25 minutes apiece. We show them all of the opportunities within this field. And last year, the governor came. He told us he would be there for about 5 to 10 minutes. And he stayed for an hour and he handed out the Shining Star Award, which is a fully loaded tool belt that's received by one student in each field. And I love Bright Futures. It's been a great endeavor. This year now, we're going to start another program, and it's towards the middle schools. We have teamed up with UCA, and we will be doing on May 6th a different program because the younger kids need more intimacy. They don't need to be like kind of running around. And we're going to start them off with building science. We're going to talk about a forked piece of lumber and how you can get a screw in it. And then we're going to show them Advantech, and then we're going to show them zip. We're going to teach them plumbing. We're going to have them use a square to show the different things that are available to them. I didn't bring it with me, but at the end, we're going to build a small trinket box with them hands-on that they can keep. And from that last piece, we're going to take that trinket box, and one of our designers, our kitchen and bath designers, is going to come and going to show our technology. Because people don't know what we have in a lumberyard. We have dynamic technology. And so the premise will be, when I was in 7th grade, I made this box and I love it. I love it. It was the first thing I ever made. And I want to design my kitchen around it. We're going to have the kids actually work on designing the kitchen. So we'll have the cabinetry, we'll have granite countertops, we'll have the knobs. And we're going to then put that up onto the screen. So the new programs allow you to actually make 3-dimensional models. And if you decide that you have a yellow countertop, do you want to change it to green? You can do it right there. We're going to let them touch that as well. So we're working with the middle schools in Bethel and Randolph that have pathways, career pathway classes. And this will be our pilot. So you're also welcome in May 6th to come to that. We as an organization do believe this is a great state to work in. We have young people coming in who agree with that. And we aren't here to ask. We are here to walk beside you and to say, we believe in CTE. How can we help? If that means sending us to our towns when these proposals come out, talking to the teachers to get support for some of these proposals, then we are as a board willing to do that and willing to send the other members of our companies to support it. Vermont needs that. We need that at a younger age. And I agree with you completely. The more you can know and the more you can be excited, the better off you are to make a decision and to meet people like the ones that we have in this room who are from all over.
And I'll never take that away. I mean, I can still fix my own car.
Exactly.
Even though all the technology says I can't.
I was actually speaking with someone in the Commerce Committee, and she's an artist, and she said that she learned hands-on, and she can make things herself, and these are very valuable skills for us to have. And the other side of it is, and I say this all the time, the kids that we see today, when we ask them last year in Bright Futures, if you would have liked to get into a program like this earlier, almost 90% of them raised their hands. But so many of them are walking around cap down and the head down. Because nobody reaches across the table and says, let me tell you about some opportunities that you have. Let me show you something. Let me teach you. And that's what we're here to do and to help you as well. So we do welcome you to come to Bright Futures, even if you came for a little bit. You start early. You can be a mentor. I will say that the students' response to the governor being there, and Commissioner Harrington came every single year, and others have come as well. I cannot tell you how much they appreciate having people from Village come, because they matter. You know, they matter, and we are in a state where we're small enough that they know you. Some of them know you. Oh, I know him. I know her. So if you can make it, we would appreciate it. anything else I can answer for you about the programs, we'd be happy to. Or any suggestions, we got some suggestions downstairs for the kids who, I guess I can call them, somehow got lost. And they were, kind of young adults, maybe dropped out, maybe went down the wrong path. And we're gonna be reaching out to a couple of them. Luke from Curtis Lumber, Luke Flanagan is the manager of Curtis Lumber, is gonna bring them as well, or try to bring some of them to Bright Futures. So we're happy for recommendations.
Do any of you offer work share with the high schools?
Yes, Bethel Mills does, I believe, Arcade does. I think we all do, actually.
And do you see rewards from that after they get done school, they may come see you for an actual job, or that they usually venture off?
They venture off from our perspective and our experience.
I saw a yes.
I've gotten one in the 8 years we've been doing it.
And are they
Stuck
still
around.
you?
He's currently an entry level forklift guy who graduated high school this past spring, so. Or last year, so he's not even a year under his belt with us.
We have several.
Hopefully he sticks around.
Yeah, we have several, we also have several that are coming out of what was VTC and the architectural design program coming in as well. So for us as an organization, when you come, if you were to come to Bright Futures, you would not see us wearing our Bethel Mills shirt or our chemo. We wear a shirt that says Vermont Retail Lumber Dealers Association. Right now, there is an urgency. And it's not about us. It's about the state and it's about the kids.
Employment again, of
That's right.
workers.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's what our goal is to get them somewhere. So they come to me because they're local and then go down there. I'll give them Jeremy's number.
Yeah.
Say, head down to Manchester. As a matter of fact, I have my daughter down there. So.
So the road and stuff.
Can you just distill for us what the greatest threat is to Bethel Mills, to the longest operating lumberyard in the country?
So what we are seeing right now is we do not see young people coming in to speak to the entrepreneurship into contracting as we did in the past, to the quality. They don't understand the beauty of carpentry or of lumber. It has not been shown to them as art. Actually, one of the people that is coming, the governor recommended, his name is Scott Raw. He's from Hancock, and he went to a trade school, and he now makes 6-figure cars out of Milton. They're artistry. Have you seen his stuff? Yeah, he's going to come. He's not a contractor, but to the point, for whatever reason, we have not provided the dialogue that says this is a wonderful, respectable business where you can. Are you a doodler? You know what you can do with that? You can create with that. You can make something that lasts forever with that. You can give someone a home, which is everybody's dream. So our greatest threat, finding people that really love that industry because they haven't been exposed to it. They've been exposed to a heck of a lot on this phone, but it is the carpentry.
I'd love to connect my friend who is the in-house cabinet maker for Beta. He went from being a carpenter to just making cabinets full time for one of our largest employers.
Yeah, love to have him come and be a mentor or even a presenter. Yeah, absolutely. So much value in that, and then coming home knowing that you created something.
Yeah, and that a multi-billion-dollar company is, using local wood and local carpentry skills in this state-of-the-art facility.
And that's what we want to see. And actually, the majority of people that are coming are contractors. One of my contractors so I'm 60, I think I was probably 65, and he's now made all of these boxes. They are in it. They want to show these kids what this is about because they've had really great careers and they've learned how to be managers. They've learned accounting. They've learned so many things from this particular path. So yeah, employees that are excited, passionate. Don't you want that for everybody? And to come to work, but you can see I have a lot of passion.
Andrew, was your folks, were they entrepreneurs or were they
My dad was a CPA and he started his own firm, but I never saw it as entrepreneurship. But yeah, it certainly was a form of it. Yeah.
Does it have a lot to do with how you're raised? It's we're dairy farmers and almost every single one of our entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Kids.
Yes.
There's a prevalent attitude out there, I think that, I learned what I wanted to do at age 16 because I worked. My father bought me a lawnmower, 5 gallons of gas and a quart of oil. And he put me to work mowing lawns, right? I knew I didn't want to do that. It was a lot of work, but I tried different things. And we got to encourage our youth, but my own kids are still here in Vermont. They're definitely Vermonters. And they said, by 16, my oldest turned 16, got his driver's license. I said, what are you going to do this summer? Well, you got a driver's license. Why don't you go find a job? His mother said, oh no, my kids aren't going to be like you and work 3 jobs. They're going to go to college, get an education. They're not going to have to work. And I said,
Oh, boy.
last time I had all 3 of them together, I said, how's that work for you? Okay, so I think by, encouraging young kids, teenagers to get out and try different things,
Yes.
so they understand what they want to do and what they don't want to do, that will help them set, and then showing them maybe a mentorship program or showing, what futures, what they can do with their efforts. That's what we gotta do. We gotta encourage and not discourage. So.
But to your point, the mentors who come, so a lot of the children, to your point about family, do not have someone say what you just said to them.
Yeah.
And again, I'm gonna make them sick, but I say this all the time. As 20 years old, I would not walk into a public building by myself. No. I had a mentor, I just lost him. But for 40 years, I've had someone who saw something in me and lifted me. And that's really one of the most important pieces of this is to say, you can do this. Let's look and see what might strike your interest. And to teach them about hard work, get out of the phone, look someone in the eye when you speak to them. You can say that very gently, very kindly, and you can give them that lift because they see you're successful. They want to be successful too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all for your time.
Yeah, thanks. It was
And
fun.
good luck, and thank you about the bill.
Try to do that on the second.
We would love to have you.
We could do
If you want us to walk with one of the classes, anywhere between 9 and 9:30 is a great time. You can certainly come and not join with the group, just walk through the presentations. There are a couple of them that are off the charts. We really would be impressed with them, I believe. If you'd like to come for the award ceremony, when the kids are all excited, that starts around 11:30.
So, by the way, thank you for looking at me.
Thank you for what you're
And
doing.
we're in session that day, but if there are other opportunities to come with like just in case we can't make it, but I'm excited. I will.
I'll send you the May 6th.
We're not sure.
Send me
Yeah.
So we go on
that
that
information.
Yeah.